we are, my friends, the most controversial list of the year for two reasons. One, you're not going to agree with anything I'm about to say. And two, there could still be some matches in 2022, but I'm taking a risk. That's right, life is about living, and damn it, lock me in. Otherwise though, yes, hello, my name is Simon Mellor, the Board A-hole. Welcome to What Culture Wrestling, and remember, please do go to whatculture.com for like an alternative list of our best matches, because these aren't necessarily mine. I kind of sat down and I thought, what do I like, what do you like, what does everybody like, and what's been a little bit different, and I put that together to form the best wrestling matches of 2022. Number 10, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kevin Owens at WrestleMania 38. Yep, that's right. I told you this list was going to take a different approach, so once again, go to whatculture.com if you need something else being injected into your veins. But as far as I'm concerned, wrestling is meant to be fun. When I'm watching the old grappling, I should be going, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And that's kind of what happened when I watched Stone Cold Steve Austin return to the ring. And I'm sure a big part of that was that I was there live too, but when they got into the promo off and then they had the proper match and the bell rung and everybody went crazy, I remember sitting there and thinking, well, this is one of the best moments of my life, and I wasn't even doing anything. And on the star rating scale, sure, it's not going to be winning any awards, but it was so damn surreal to see Steve Austin back. I can't lie, it made me feel all warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum that his opponent was Kevin Owens, who was also main eventing WrestleMania. I mean, that guy has just smashed it. So I will remember this for a long time to come, hence why it does come in here at number 10. It just ticks so many damn boxes. At this juncture, I'll also tell you, even though we are going to go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, that was absolutely gibberish, you can kind of move these around. It's like music, depends on your mood. Number 9, FTR versus Aussie Open at New Japan Royal Quest. So from the mainstream to the niche, when New Japan did indeed come back over to the United Kingdom a few months ago, you always knew you were going to get a bunch of good matches, because again, they don't come over here very often, so when you do arrive, you want to prove a point. I also had a feeling that FTR versus Aussie Open may be the best match over the two nights, because it was just at the right place, at the right time. We all know that FTR are not only one of the greatest teams right now, but maybe one of the greatest teams ever. And Aussie Open have been whooping ass for a good old time. And ever since they started getting a bigger eye put on them, like having their All Elite Wrestling appearances, they've somehow raised the bar up and up and up and up and up. So this was time just to underline all of that, and boy howdy did they go balls to the wall. Because even though it starts, I wouldn't say slow, but at like a very specific pace, when you get to the last 5 minutes or so, you will actually be sitting there going, because they hit every spot so perfectly, and to be honest, it doesn't make any sense. I'm pretty sure they're aliens. The near falls are also so good, you'll bite on every single one, even if you know the result. And of course, FTR were going to win because they had all the titles and they had that association with AEW, but nobody walked out of this the loser. If you want to say this was the best tag team match of the year, maybe of the last 5 years, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to put my hand around you. We're going to go to a sofa. We're going to plant our bums in it. Gonna watch it again. Number 8, Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins at WWE Hell in a Cell. Now, I think this was already mentioned when we did our best matches of 2022 so far video back in July, but that doesn't matter. We have got to the end of the year, and I still look back at this and go, well, damn, did these two guys create something special. I mean, anyone who fights with a torn pec deserves it, but it's how they both use this in order to create the story. Like, Seth Rollins was actually trying to make it worse as if he was some kind of crazy person, and the way the American Nightmare sold all of it, this just took you through every single gambit of emotions that you had. You were happy, you were sad, you were terrified, you just wanted it to end, but you couldn't look away. Still don't really understand how they did it. It is such a shame that Rhodes had to vanish after this, because the momentum he would have had, although it does make all the sense in the world, and this left such a marker that when he is good to come back, if WWE builds it right, he will be an even bigger star than he was when he left. Seth is also just so damn good and one of the best talents in the world, and we don't give him enough credit. And even though I believe we've seen this 3 times, maybe it was even 4 times, I can't remember, if they want to do another go around when both are back in the company, you ain't gonna hear a peep out of me. I'm just going to enjoy the hell out of it. Number 7, Swerve in Our Glory versus the acclaimed All Out 2022. So who saw this coming? I mean, talk about all your hard work coming together, because on this evening, every single fan all of a sudden realized, wait a minute, the acclaimed is brilliant, they're really entertaining, I think we should cheer them and hope they win the tag team titles. And it's true too, because not only had they been kicking ass, they'd been improving every single week, and they had invented scissoring. And I know that's absolutely ridiculous, but it's one of those things you just need to come up with in wrestling so you can reach that next level. And ever since they have started to scissor, well, they've proven exactly that. Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee were also the perfect foils, because at the time they were the champions, but they were also going through problems of their own. Like Swerve was happy to cheat and Keith Lee was like, no, undoubtedly, we must do the right thing. But that just meant there was so much to dive in here, to the point, after the fact, so many people go, we should have called it audible, we should have called it audible, we should have given Max Caster and Anthony Bowens the tag team championships. And I'm sorry, but when you've got people saying that, you've done something right. And I would say there's a debate to actually say the bittersweet nature of it makes it even better, because everybody likes a good tragedy. And a few weeks after this, the Acclaim did win the belts, and as of me speaking, they still hold them today. And it all started here in this wonderful pressure cooker. And if you haven't seen it, you should change it today. It's everything good about wrestling. Number 6, Okada versus Ospreay at NJPW G1 Climax Night 20. I mean, surprise, surprise, right? And I could have put this in the number 1 slot, but it's more fun to be contrary. But it shouldn't come as that big a surprise, because these guys had 2 matches in 2022 that should be in with this list. But I'm going with this one. Because yeah, it was even more ridiculous that they'd already had this 5-star wonderful classic back at Wrestle Kingdom, but then they met in the finals of the G1 Climax tournament, which gave it even more stakes, and somehow they put on an even better show. And I just watched the whole thing like this, because I don't understand how they do it. Seamlessly merging the expert match building of Okada with the agility and sheer emotion that Will Ospreay brings, what we really need to focus on is that both these guys had a tremendous weight and a tremendous pressure on their shoulders, because the expectation level was so high, but not only did they hit that, somehow they surpassed it. Will Ospreay was also teasing V-Triggers and One-Winged Angels, which just tied directly into the audience and what they wanted to see, and Okada was just at his explosive best here. I mean, some of the drop kicks he hit, absolutely sublime. There's also a Spanish fly spot that will make you fall on the floor because it doesn't make any sense, and the last run of this when Will Ospreay is just throwing everything he has at Okada, who only wins after hitting a second Rainmaker, well, you just got to give it a round of applause. It is truly, truly wonderful stuff. And honestly, even though one day it will, I don't really get how it will ever be topped. Number 5, Gunther versus Sheamus at WWE Clash at the Castle. And this was another one that nobody was prepared for, because we didn't know. Triple H had only just taken over the company from Vince McMahon, so we were still in, well, WWE acts in a certain way. And then all of a sudden the rules changed. Well, you see, rather than stick to the usual playbook, Gunther and Sheamus were told to go out there and just have a big man slapping meat match, to the point they barely did any moves. Seriously, go and watch it again. This is all about drama, this is all about motion, and it's all about chops. And flub me sideways. Some of the slaps that both guys lay in make you feel oogly boogly. It was utterly inspired too, because soon Sheamus was playing the babyface in peril. But because he kept fighting and fighting and fighting, it didn't matter that we thought he had a broken back. We were all desperate for him to become the Intercontinental Champion, to the point, I was there live, I turned to Michael Hamflett, he of What Culture fame, and I said, oh, I know what's going to happen. The Irishman is going to win the Intercontinental Champion, and Drew's going to lose later. Now, I was half right, but this is how invested I got. Worthy of the 5 stars it did get from Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it also cemented the fact that Gunther is now an end-of-level boss and a tremendous IC champ, but it also renewed Sheamus completely, and ever since he's been fantastic. So this was just the right place at the right time, and you had the 2 guys to pull it off. I think we're going to look back on this in many years to come and say, flub me, that was important. Number 4, CM Punk versus MJF at AEW Revolution. So once again, this is the second time we have mentioned this match in such a list as this. But come on now, how can you not? And sure, a lot has changed since March, and I don't think anybody could have predicted what was going to happen with CM Punk. But let's take all that and put it over there and just focus on the professional wrestling, because everything that CM Punk and MJF did was wrestling gold. And I think most of us assumed that when these two did clash, it was going to be something special, but I don't think we were ready for the absolute tragedy that this was going to be. And when we did get to the dog collar match at the pay-per-view, oh my gosh, it was so damn brutal. I mean, Punk was bleeding a lot. I just saw both guys fighting for their lives, and it was utterly compelling television. Plus, you had the finish when Wardlow finally decided, I'm done with you, boss, and gave the Dynamite Diamond Ring to Punk to pump Maxwell right in the face. And that was just like some kind of poetic irony. If Shakespeare had written this, we'd still be talking about it today. It also helped everybody because Punk felt like the skilled veteran, MJF still felt like the future, and Wardlow felt like a guy that was about to smash through to the other side. And sure, it didn't really work out like this, but you can't worry about what's going to happen down the line. You have to embrace how you're feeling at the time, and all of this was brilliant. All three guys also came together to remind you that storytelling is the best thing you can do in professional wrestling. You don't even have to worry about the maneuvers. So I will probably watch this match once a year until I die. That's how much I like it. Number 3, Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 38. That's right, one of the kind of forgotten matches of 2022, just because that's how the cycle works. Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch stormed to the ring on a very packed WrestleMania card. They fought for the Raw Women's Championship, and they had a damn classic. This was just another one that ticked all the boxes, because you had a title change tick, you had fans going nuts tick, and you had Becky Lynch just getting more frustrated, because no matter what she did to Bianca, she couldn't keep her down. The icing on the cake was that Belair finally won her Raw Women's Championship too to cement her stardom, and in many ways, this even justified the Becky turn. Now, I know it was always a little bit of a struggle, because not everybody wanted to boo her, but if we did this because we wanted to ensure that Bianca Belair was able to take the next step forward, well, I'm sorry, look at it now, that's exactly what we did. Because she has been an integral part of Raw ever since, and once again, it just comes back to this idea, it's not necessarily about what you do in the ring, it's the significance, it's the importance, it's the feel. Bianca and Lynch had all of that, and you just know they're gonna do this for many years to come. I really enjoyed this. I think it over-delivered. Number 2, Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Adam Page on AEW Dynamite. So we're going all the way back to the start of the year with this one, but you can't not talk about it because the second round between Bryan Danielson and Hangman Adam Page for the AEW World title was so damn good, especially because it totally played off the first. Because the story was about how both guys had sat down and studied that match, and they weren't going to fall foul for the same mistakes that maybe they did last time around. And even though Page hadn't been the champion for that long, Bryan Danielson was so good in this that deep down in your tum-tum you thought to yourself, well, maybe, just maybe, we're gonna have a surprise and we're gonna give the belt to the American Dragon. And let's face it, would anybody have complained about that? Well, there's that one guy, but screw him, no. It was also stupid because it was on free TV, even though it felt like the most important pay-per-view match ever, and that is hyperbole. And there's still that one spot where Hangman goes for the buckshot lariat, a bloody Bryan Danielson gets out the way and hits him with the big knee for a near fall. I mean, the reaction to that, it will never get old. It also has terrifying moments too, because the cowboy does drop Danielson on the outside with a dead eye, and anytime you do that to Bryan, I can't handle it. But this is a 10 out of 10 or a 5-star match, 12 out of 10 in the Tokyo Dome, and it's also something that every budding wrestler should sit down and just study. Basically won in every single category. Number 1, Orange Cassidy versus Will Ospreay at AEW Forbidden Door. Right, calm down. Everyone stop going nuts. Now, I'm not really saying that this was the best match of 2022, and really within this year it's impossible because there's been so many damn good ones. But what I am saying is this. I feel like, given his record, Will Ospreay does need to be in this position, but also, too, once again, this was a bunch of individuals going, oh, that Orange Cassidy, I can't believe we're doing this. And what did the piece of fruit do? He totally went out there and became the man. Or the Orange. Because I tell you, it is just wonderful time and time again for people to melt down about what we do with Orange Cassidy, even though by now you should know he is a terrific professional wrestler who just so happened to come up with a gimmick that got the spotlight on him. I don't want to be that guy, but that's basically what sports entertainment is all about. I'm really not sure why anybody is mad about this either, because when you do sit down to watch it, not only does it go a mile a minute, but it has one of the best ending sequences you are ever likely to see. I mean, it's that old chestnut again, when you know that Will isn't going to lose, but you can't be damn sure, especially when Orange Cassidy busts out all his signature moves. I mean, I rewatched this recently for this list, and I still thought he was going to win, which is ridiculous because I've seen it. So once again, it was just so damn fun, and just to underline it, Ospreay does deserve to be in this position. And basically, while everyone else is going to talk about Ospreay and Okada, or Ospreay or Naito, or Ospreay and Zack Sabre Jr., and all of those deserve a mention, I wanted to do something a little bit different. And just to push this list into one big blob, again, I had so much fun watching this. I thought it was faboo. I also want to give some honourable mentions to the United Empire versus the Death Triangle that happened on AEW. Also, you had the Death Triangle taking on the Elite. That was absolutely brilliant. You had the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers, and you had the Young Bucks and FTR, and you had Sammy Guevara versus Cody Rhodes. There was the Sami Zayn versus Jackass match at WrestleMania, which was so damn good, and Charlotte Flair had a bunch of good matches, and so did Ronda Rousey, and Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker in the cage. You have to talk about that. And there's also some Stardom matches that people have raved about that sadly I don't have the time to watch. So again, lists like this don't mean anything. We had a bunch of good matches like this throughout the year, and as fans, we should just feel great about that. Let me just check in with my brain. Haha, I do. Now, of course, you know what to do. Go down into those comments and let me know what are your 10 best wrestling matches of the year. And don't yell at anybody else. There's no right or wrong here. In fact, why don't you go a bit crazy and try and think outside the box? Then like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Definitely go to whatculture.com if you do want a different list so everybody can calm down. Follow us on social media at WhatCulture WWE and Simon Miller 316, and we have lots of other videos. They need you. Go watch. My name is Simon for What Culture. Thank you for joining me as always. And I tell you, if I was going to do a proper list of my favorite matches, it'd be like a Danhausen match or some kind of goofy wrestling with some scissoring, maybe, because that's secretly what I like the most. Sometimes you just have to be quiet about it. Goofy wrestling for life.